متن العقيدة النسفية. The text of the Nasafi Creed. قال المؤلف بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قال النسفي رحمه الله. Said النسفي, may Allah have mercy on him. قال أهل الحق, the people of the truth said, and the truth is that which complies with reality. Al-haqq, the truth is that which complies with reality. قال أهل الحق, the people of the truth said, حقائق الأشياء ثابتة, the realities of things are confirmed. That means things, we believe that things are real. All of the things around us existing are real. وَالْعِلْمُ بِهَا مُتَحَقِّقٌ, and the knowledge of those real things is verified. Our knowledge of those real things, that means our true conception, our correct conception of those truly existing things is verified. خلافا للسوفسطائية, as opposed to the sophists, those philosophers, that's a madhab, a philosophy whose creed is that things are not real and they're only imagination. And this is truly a very weak madhab. You refute such people by smacking them and taking their money. Then when they complain, you say it's just your imagination. And that's blasphemy. Denying that the world is real is blasphemy. وَأَسْبَابُ الْعِلْمِ لِلْخَلْقِ ثَلَاثَةٌ, and the reasons or causes of knowledge for the creation are three. We creations, we know, we have a knowledge. Knowledge here means a realization that complies with reality. We have knowledge through three ways. Al-Hawasus Salima, the sound senses. Sound senses. That gives you definitive, necessary knowledge. Necessary knowledge. That means it's going to come back to, by your sound senses, knowledge is born in you in such a way that you cannot fight it off from yourself. You can't repel it from yourself or stop yourself from knowing what you see and what you hear, etc. If the senses are sound. وَالْخَبَرُ الصَّادِقُ, and truthful information. Truthful information replaces the senses. We're going to come back to talk about the truthful information, inshaAllah. وَالْعَقْلُ, and the intellect. By the intellect, you can know, you can have knowledge. By the truthful information, you can have sometimes necessary knowledge. That means also knowledge that's born in you and you cannot fight it off from yourself. And sometimes, depending on that truthful information, You have an inferred knowledge. An inferred knowledge. Wal-aql, and the intellect. That's a third way for the creation to have knowledge. What's knowledge? Conception that complies with reality, conceiving something as it truly is. Sometimes by the intellect, you have necessary knowledge that's born in you, that you cannot fight off from yourself. And sometimes by the intellect, you have inferred knowledge. That means you had to gather the clues first and then deduce from there. فَالْحَوَاسُ خَمْسٌ. The senses are 5. السمع والبصر والشم والذوق واللمس. Hearing, sight, smell, taste, and touch. There's no sixth sense. Rather, that's claimed by the philosophers. That is, there's no evidence for a sixth sense. Who claims a sixth sense needs to produce its indisputable evidence? وَبِكُلِّ حَاسَّةٍ مِّنْهَا يُوقَفُ عَلَى مَا وُضِعَتْ هِيَ لَهُ. And for every sense is that for which the sense was put. Yani, each sense detects something in particular. Kasam'i, like hearing, it is for detecting sounds. You might even use your hearing for distance. Wadhawq, and taste, that's for detecting flavors. Washam, that's for detecting smells. You might also locate by smell. And so what's left? Al-Basar, that's for detecting bodies and colors and movements and the like. And touch, that's for detecting roughness, coldness, smoothness, heat, etc. Also by that one knows pain and hunger, feel, yani sensation. This power Allah distributed throughout the body. وَالْخَبَرُ الصَّادِقُ عَلَى نَوْعَيْنِ. And the truthful information is of two types. أَحَدُهُمَا الْخَبَرُ الْمُتَوَاتِرُ. One of those two is the successive mass narration. وَهُوَ الْخَبَرُ الثَّابِتُ عَلَى أَلْسِنَةِ قَوْمٍ. And that is the confirmed news upon the tongues of some people. لا يتصور تواطؤهم على الكذب. Some people whose conspiring is inconceivable. That means so many people that for them to have conspired to the same narration, to agree to the same narration, is normally impossible. Normally impossible. Here, remember that there are 3 types of impossibilities. There's a mental impossibility, a religious impossibility, and a normal impossibility. Mental impossibility is like a partner for God, or God being weak or ignorant. Religious impossibility is like paradise and hell coming to an end, or a prophet after Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Normal impossibility is something that if it happened, it was supernatural. The normal impossibility is that which, if it did happen, then its occurrence was supernatural. Like the miracles of the prophets. Those are normally impossible. So, al-khabar al-mutawatir, the successive mass narration, وهو الخبر الثابت على ألسنة قوم, and it is the news that is confirmed upon the tongues of a people. A people, what's the description of those people? لا يتصور تواطؤهم على الكذب. A people that their conspiring to a lie is inconceivable because of their great numbers. Inconceivable how? So someone might say, it's not mentally impossible for all of those people to conspire to a lie. That's mentally possible. How is that inconceivable? Where's the impossibility? The answer is that the impossibility is a normal one. For such a great number of people to conspire to this successive mass narration is normally impossible, which means had they done it, it would have been a supernatural phenomenon. Then it's authentic report. And even the children can know the truthfulness of such a report. That's how we know that this successive mass narration instills necessary knowledge, imparts necessary knowledge. Knowledge that you cannot fight off from yourself. How do we know? Because people who don't have the expertise to research and authenticate, even to the extent that the children, they know with correct knowledge by successive mass narration. So that was only because such a narration imparts knowledge on one, without that one having to be a thinker or a researcher. وهو موجب للعلم الضروري. The successive mass narration, is indicative or promoting or dictating necessary knowledge. So what's necessary knowledge? We just said it several times. Knowledge that is born within you and you cannot fight it off from yourself. You don't need to gather the evidence to arrive at that knowledge. كالعلم بالملوك الخالية كالعلم بالملوك الخالية في الأزمنة الماضية, like the knowledge of the kings of old, والبلدان النائية, and the far-off lands. How do we know about them without witnessing them? What has replaced our senses here? This successive mass narration. So we are sure of the kings of old, yani, some of them, those who are known to us, and the faraway lands that we have never witnessed personally. والثاني, the second truthful information, the second type of truthful information, خبر الرسول المؤيد بالمعجزة, is the news of the messenger supported by the miracle, meaning a miracle. The news of the messenger, that is the prophet of God, a prophet of God, supported by a miracle. وهو يوجب العلم الاستدلالي. This news, this type of news, dictates inferred knowledge. Now, firstly, this truthful information that imparts knowledge, knowledge being the realization of something as it truly is. This truthful information, which is the news of a messenger supported by a miracle. Who is the one who gets such a knowledge? The one who hears directly from that messenger. As for the one who hears by intermediary, then he does not have the same judgment. So the messenger, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, any messenger would do a miracle, thereby proving his status of prophethood. Then he would say something from revelation. So who heard that from that prophet directly? Then, if he's aware of that prophet's evidence, which is the miracle, if he's aware of that prophet's evidence and hears directly from the prophet, then he has knowledge. He knows something as it is based on what he took from said messenger. But the one who before that, what is this knowledge that this one gets? It's an inferred knowledge. Why? Because it's not born in one in such a way that one cannot push it away from himself. For a human being to come to you and say to you, such and such, Just because he said that to you doesn't mean that the knowledge is born in you by hearing it from him. I mean, the truthfulness of whatever it is he said. Knowing the truthfulness of whatever he said. So when that one is a prophet who does a miracle, then when he tells you something, you will know it. If you heard it directly from him, you would have a knowledge. But it's based on a proof. It's not born in you in such a way that you can't fight it off. What's the proof? The proof is the miracle. However, the news of a prophet is so reliable that it's like the mutawatir in strength, in its reliability. Not in being born in you, not from that perspective, but from the perspective of its reliability and confirmation. As for the one who heard from the one who heard from the messenger, then he does not have the same judgment as the first one. And this is where the knowledge of hadith starts. Tracking the information back through its sayers, to verify those sayers so that we can take that information or reject it. So then, so far, you know from this Aqidah of Nasafiyyah that there's two types of knowledge for the creation. A necessary knowledge that is born in one, he cannot fight it off from himself. And an inferred knowledge that is based on evidence. Yani, you didn't get that knowledge immediately. Rather, you got that knowledge based on something prior. وَالْعِلْمُ الثَّابِتُ بِهِ يُضَاهِي الْعِلْمَ الثَّابِتَ بِالضَّرُورَةِ. And the knowledge that's confirmed by the news of a messenger who supported with miracles resembles the knowledge that's confirmed by necessity. How do you get knowledge by necessity? By your sound senses. Also how by successive mass narration. Also how, as we're going to say, by intuition. All these ways you can get necessary knowledge, a knowledge born in you that you cannot fight off from yourself. The news of a prophet supported by miracles is like that. But in what way? Not from the perspective of being born in you in such a way that you can't fight it off from yourself. Rather, fi tayakkuni wa thabat, in confirmation, in that way. Wa amma al-aql, and as for the intellect, فهو سبب للعلم أيضا, it is a reason for knowledge also. وما ثبت منه بالبديهة, so as for the intellect, it is a reason or a cause of knowledge also. The intellect, you know what that is. It is an attribute of some creatures by which they can distinguish the good from the bad, by which they can process details and think. So this attribute of humans and angels and genies, the intellect, it's a reason for knowledge also. Knowledge being the realization of something as it is in reality. وَمَا ثَبَتَ مِنْهُ بِالْبَدِيهَةِ, whatever is confirmed by way of intuition, badiha, immediateness, that natural immediate function of the mind, فَهُوَ ضَرُورِي, then that is necessary. Necessary knowledge, born in you. You cannot fight it off from yourself. كالعلم بأن كل الشيء أعظم من جزئه, like knowing that all of something is greater than some of it. That's intuitive. وما ثبت منه بالاستدلال فهو اكتسابي, and anything that's confirmed by the mind by way of inference, then that's an acquired knowledge or an earned knowledge, not an immediate knowledge or necessary knowledge or granted knowledge. One type of knowledge is granted, one type of knowledge is earned. Granted one means it's there. So that's the necessary knowledge. Earned one means you need to work for it. That's the inferred knowledge. وَالْإِلْهَامُ لَيْسَ مِنْ أَسْبَابِ الْمَعْرِفَةِ بِصِحَّةِ الشَّيْءِ عِنْدَ أَهْلِ الْحَقِّ, and inspiration is not amongst the causes of knowledge about the validity or correctness or soundness of something according to the people of the truth. Inspiration. And here the author means what's thrown into the heart of a wali, let alone someone less than a wali. That inspiration that's thrown into the heart of a wali is not evidence. The wali could be wrong in his premonition. And dreams are less than ilham. Dreams are less than ilham, less than inspiration. So how do you get knowledge? Through sound senses, truthful information, and the mind. How do you not get knowledge? As documented here in the text of An-Nasafiyyah, by ilham, inspiration or premonition of a wali we're talking about. So how about less than a wali? Just someone says, this is what I think, that's what I feel. There's no knowledge here. And what's less than that? The dream, according to the people of the truth. This entire introduction that we just read from the creed of An-Nasafiyyah is not in the Aqidah of At-Tahawi. You will find the Aqidah of An-Nasafiyyah very similar to At-Tahawi, just lighter, briefer. And At-Tahawi certainly has a rank or ranks over the Aqidah of An-Nasafi in terms of status and prestige. But that doesn't deny that this prestigious book has some advantages not in the Aqidah of At-Tahawi. However, the Aqidah of At-Tahawi has in it that from which you can extract this talk. What An-Nasafi said here that we just read, the benefit here is that he set it out. He elaborated on it and expressed it out. It's not that Tahawi doesn't have that, but At-Tahawi's text is inclusive of this without him saying it. It would have to be pulled out of the text by explanation. Like when At-Tahawi said, لِأَنَّ الْعِلْمَ عِلْمَانِ, because there's two types of knowledge. عِلْمٌ فِي الْخَلْقِ مَوْجُودٌ وَعِلْمٌ فِي الْخَلْقِ مَفْقُودٌ. A knowledge that's accessible to the creation and a knowledge that's inaccessible to the creation. From here, this paragraph of At-Tahawi, one could bring out this talk.